I'm from Georgia. I'm from China.
San Francisco, California, born and raised.
I'm from New Delhi, Cape Town, South Africa.
Benin and Canada, and also France, technically.
I'm from Tehran, Iran, and I moved here 7 months ago to London.
The home to me, I think, is the place where my family is. And so to me, I think I have like two homes. First is the place where I grew up, so it's Beijing. And usually during New Year's, like we all spend with my families. So in that time, I went back to Guangzhou to spend time with my grandparents. Yeah.
It's mostly the memories, not like the specific place, but mostly like the language I speak is like home to me. So like I feel like my language, Farsi, is kind of my home, and the memories with the people I like. Yeah.
It's pretty much like what you would think of typically when you think of California. Mine is like the sunshine. Everyone I've ever known is from San Francisco.
For me, Benin is mainly because of my ethnicity. This is the home of my ancestor, therefore it's also my home. And for Canada, it's my second home. You know, it's where I guess I very much remember moving to Canada. I remember having the weird language barrier because French from France is completely different from French from Canada. And so it's all those little things that made it the home that I built. And when I had to leave that away again for the UK to be here, that's the moment I realized, oh, I miss this place, so it has to be home.
Every year when it's close to my birthday, I go through this like birthday-ish crisis. So when I was 16, it was like 1 week before or like a month-ish before my birthday, and I was like, I have to do something with my life. I have to do something, and then I was like, I have to move abroad.
It all started around 2020. We're like in the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm feeling trapped and I'm at home. And I remember writing in this diary, when I'll be, I guess, 23 or 20 something, in my 20s, I will be in London and I'll be doing photography and things like that. And that was kind of like this, you know, this crazy thing you write when you're like 15, 16 and you're just daydreaming about stuff.
Ever since I was young, I've been dreaming about like moving abroad to college.
Kind of like a dream for a long time. I want to say since like 5th grade, maybe.
Going to a new city and settling in, making new friends.
That's what led me to move here.
I feel like you hear about when people are in like small towns or something, it's like, I gotta get out. Like if I want to make anything of myself, like I need to leave. And I never felt that, but I feel like there was a sense of I have to leave in that, like if I don't do it now, I don't know when I'm gonna do it.
The second I moved here, I realised it was, in Cape Town, I was very much like big fish in little pond, and here I'm tiny fish in big pond, and it's so much more exciting to be like that.
My mom to drop me to London. She was very, very helpful. I'm so grateful to her because she really helped me settle in. While she was giving me that reassurance and comfort, I myself was getting this feeling that I should have done the same for her, because I knew how difficult it would be for her to drop me off and leave back to Georgia.
I think for me, sometimes I am an emotional person, but especially like the time that like my parents like leaving my mom, like when I went into the airport for waiting the plane, that time, and also the time that when my dad leave, I didn't really like show my emotion because I don't want it to be like emotional in front of my parents.
My mom forgot her sunglasses at my place, but she was like, I can't come see you again. Like I can't deal with that, so just mailed them back.
So the first day I moved, I was so sad because I hadn't seen the city. Like I arrived and I went to my room, it was night and my room was so empty. And I was like, what have I done?
There was this feeling of like, it hit you where you're like, oh wow, yeah, we're like in it now. Like I'm all alone, it's happening. Like I could be anywhere at any time and no one would know. It's kind of like a sink or swim moment. But, so it was scary, it was tough, but then there's also like a freedom to it just because like you have to make it work.
It was my first time getting on the tube, and as soon as I entered like the central, when I saw how alive the city was and the atmosphere and everything, I was like, okay, I made the right decision.
I miss the sun. I miss the warmth. I miss like my bed sheets at home. And my bed at home, it's like constantly my mom's talking, my dad's talking, my brother's running everywhere, the dogs are barking, like there's always so much noise, and I miss like the noise and the just like having people in the house.
Small things like my mom making me tea every morning. My neighbors that I would see maybe, I don't know, like once a month. But I miss watching them from the window and like just observing what's going on in my yard. That's kind of the smallest things that I really miss at home. That's what I felt about London in the first place, that I could express myself in every possible way, and I loved it, honestly.
Being alone in Cape Town, especially as a woman, you can't really be alone anywhere. You can't walk anywhere alone. You can't like drive at night alone. You can't do anything alone. So it was very much like I wanted to prove to myself that if I could be alone, live alone in London. It was my first time just, I can do this by myself. But even like getting an Uber alone was like crazy to me, because in South Africa obviously you can, but it's always like you never should. And it was just, yeah, it was so freeing.
I grew up in a country that the most basic things were taken away from me. So I kind of had this obsession. I grew up with this obsession of being free. So like every decision I ever made in my life led to like, will I be free? Will I be free to do this? Will I be free to do that? Like, how can I be more free? Because things that no one thinks about were so difficult for us to have. Even though I came from like a privileged household, my parents were amazing, but like I feel like if you talk to anyone from my country, they feel kind of suffocated. I felt like I had to leave to become the person I want, and then choose to go back to my own country and decide to make it better.
It is so weird to go back. That was the weirdest thing for me. And it was also like you don't really realize that like you have two lives. Like you go back and you're like, whoa, like what? And then you're speaking to a whole different batch of people, and like it's very much like Hannah Montana lifestyle. It's literally like living two lives.
So of course I miss everything, but I try not to think about like what's going on back at home in a way. Like I try to live the moment I'm in now. So that's how I really got like used to living here. But then I knew that as soon as I would go back and then I would like come back again, like it would glitch, like just like it's like a jet lag of feelings, I call it.
So for some people it's survival, but for me it was more, I needed the growth that comes with moving away by myself. The way I could explain it is at the time I always felt like I was my own human being. I was my dad's daughter, my brother's sister. It was never I am me as a human. And so moving to this country where I had basically any connection, it was like I'm my own being, and this time I can do whatever I want. The first thing I did was change my name. This was completely detached. It had no connotation. What's cool about moving away, it's like it's a video game. You can restart everything. You can say whatever you want because people don't know your past, and that sometimes can be difficult.
Almost all of my friends stayed, and seeing them and their lives, it kind of made me like question how my life would have been if I stayed. So even though I was so grateful, like I would have chosen this path again and again and again. So it was definitely like hard to go back, but good at the same time.
I printed out the posters of this Georgian TV show, which is basically inspired by Friends. It's very, very famous, and everybody in Georgia has watched it, whether it's an adult, whether it was people my age, everyone has watched it. And I printed out some of the posters of that show and I hang next to my bed. I also found this shop where it's a candy shop, and they sell this Russian sweets that really remind me of my home. My grandma used to buy them all the time, and I have this little box where there's always those candies and chocolates for me to grab them. When I taste that sweets, when I taste that chocolates, I feel like I'm back then in Georgia, and it's really fun.
For me, I've grown up in a Punjabi family, and I definitely do miss them the most during the season of like festivals, or like when different traditions or like religious festivals are going on.
And I love that I get to like compare it and see the similarities with other cultures. So like I'm like, oh, we have this, and someone's like, oh, we have something like this, we have something like that. So it definitely, if I didn't move, I wouldn't realize that, and I wouldn't be grateful for it. So it made me see my culture more in my identity. I saw like the tiny little effects it has had on me throughout 18 years of knowing it, and how it continues to affect it.
And it does, like, it really, the whole distance makes the heart grow fonder. Like, I feel like it really does make you appreciate, like, where you're from, because you notice the differences in how people grow up and how people live their lives and stuff.
The cultural aspect became more bold for me than the sadness, and so that's what I'm grateful for.
The first few weeks where I was feeling really lost, I think many international students do experience that, and I would, if I had to tell them something, I would tell them that it is normal, but they won't regret doing that and making that decision, because their growth and the person that they're gonna become later, they will thank them for that.
It was such a weird thought that I was like comfortable going back to London, because not even 6 months before I had never been.
Honestly, there can be moments where I slip out and say I want to go home, and I mean my dorm room and not my room in New Delhi. And I just feel like those are the moments when I realize like I've actually made a place for myself here.
I definitely wanted to prove to myself that I could leave. I always knew I was going to, but I wanted to prove to myself that I'd be like very, very much okay by myself. And I also think like if you've moved countries at a young age completely by yourself, there's absolutely nothing that you can't do. Is that right? Is it double negative? Absolutely nothing that you can't do.
I'll forever be grateful and happy, like making this change in my life.
I feel like when I look back, I'll be very grateful to myself that I actually did it.
I know I'm gonna be really grateful.
I think I will be grateful to myself. Yeah, to myself that I have made the right decision.
It will for sure be something that I'm like glad I did, and I'm glad I like moved away from home, because then there is always like the like coming back that I feel like is made more special. So yeah.
If you ever have the privilege to experience other cultures, it's one of the best things you can do to your soul. Just encountering other people, I think that even if you can't move physically, try to move mentally. Just go up to other people from different cultures. And it's this idea of being able to share things.